Back in, it is 9:40 on your Thursday edition, and welcoming to the first time. It's a guy I've known for a long time, ladies and gentlemen. He's kind of been in and out of baseball and coaching around here for a little bit, and he's been with the Legion program a couple different stints in his lifetime. But Aaron Lozano is the new manager of the Laramie Rangers. Brandon Ruckman stepped down last fall after 4 seasons at the helm, and a lot of that had to do with some personal things, some things kind of tweaked in his day-to-day profession, let's just put it that way, and from a time standpoint, I know he still has a passion for the game of baseball, but not going to match up. So he steps down. Well, they do a little search, and lo and behold, here we are with Aaron Lozano, now the new manager of the Laramie Rangers, hired this past November, and congratulations to you. How are you doing this morning?
Good. Thanks for having me here.
Well,
really excited to be here.
Well, I appreciate it. As I mentioned, you've been kind of, now you didn't get your start here coaching in Laramie, because I know you back in your stomping grounds at Torrington you did a little bit, but you've been kind of in and out of the UW, or I should say the local baseball scene, between the Rangers and some old Babe Ruth All-Stars and UW club team, and you used to have a passion for the game.
I do, and I'll tell you, I got my start here in Laramie. Strangely enough, I was in the National Guard and on a deployment with Gary Brinkman, Stuart Brinkman's dad, the wrestling coach.
Okay.
And on our way home, he said, hey, they could use an assistant coach on our junior Babe Ruth team back home, it sounds like. So I reached out to the coach. Turns out he was from Torrington, and that's how I got my foot in the door in Laramie.
There you go. So you started actually coaching a little league team in Torrington, your old stomping grounds, then kind of worked your way up as an assistant coach with their program, and then you did some all-star action for a couple summers. I remember talking to you way back in my early days. This is how long we've been around here, by the way, folks. We're dating ourselves. Then you spent time with the kind of the Legion A program. That's kind of the JV level for the Rangers Legion program. Did a stint with UW Club Baseball. Got back in with youth baseball, and now I know you're involved with the Regulators. And then came back on last year under Brandon. Served as the A-team head coach again, and as an assistant on the AA team that finished third last year. Last year was a lot of fun. Kind of built up to that season. And where do you feel like we're at, kind of from a program standpoint right now for Laramie Rangers American Legion Baseball, now that you're the head guy?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things that I would highlight. We have 6 really strong players coming back with varsity experience. So that's kind of our core to build on. And from there, we're kind of going to be inexperienced and young, but with a lot of talent. We're seeing a huge influx coming in from our Little League. Met with their board recently. They had an actual age change requirement or deadline, which means we're getting a few extra players this year.
Oh, wow.
So we're looking at maybe having, hopefully, depending on the numbers, a 4th team in the program, which would be sort of a transition team. We were looking at some of these guys, 12 years old, and technically they could be playing on the same team as some 15-year-olds who are quite a bit bigger. So a great visual for me was had one of our new players, Trip Looney, standing next to Jake Vegan, and they could technically be, battling each other. And Trip's quite a bit smaller than Jake, Trip's a very talented ball player, but so that kind of gave us the idea like maybe we need to figure something out that's a little bit more appropriate for these younger guys.
Well, and you've been around the baseball scene enough here in Wyoming to realize how things have kind of changed and developed. Instead of teams having 1, maybe 2 teams in the program, you've seen a lot of Legion teams now expand into 3 and 4 levels to try and get a good, nice little feeder program to help out and develop those players the way you want them to play, and fundamentally and then get them ready for Legion baseball by the time they're ready for it. Now, some guys are ready earlier than others. I think you would agree with that, but you want a nice, solid feeder program so that your numbers stay consistent. And I think that's at least from my standpoint, worked out in the last couple of years where we've got maybe some more consistent numbers coming in.
Yeah, I think as a community we've kind of figured out how to handle some of the changes that have happened in baseball. We've seen basically the junior Babe Ruth programs across the state are gone. And so, we've had a few things that we've tried to do here in the community, and it seems like now we're all kind of getting on the same page and working together. The Regulators program that you mentioned earlier is one of those things. Conrad Chavez and Rob Shutterly saw sort of a need there, filled that need, and now we're working with not only the Regulators but the local Little League to sort of get on the same page and just kind of develop more of a community which has been, something that's been going on for a couple of years now. Coach Ruckman was definitely a big part of helping forge some of those relationships, and we're kind of building on that now.
What'd you take away from being under Brandon Ruckman last year?
I said at the first meeting, the first Legion meeting that I went to as the head coach, that I don't think I'd ever learned more in a season from any one single person than I did from Brandon Ruckman last year. The knowledge that he has for the game, the passion that he has for the game, I mean, it really just rubbed off on me. I would say we have very different coaching styles, but the knowledge that he has, I'm very grateful for. And, he's actually, he can't stay away, so he's actually shown up at a few of our early practices. He's thrown some BP, and we're really happy to have him out there volunteering and helping out when he can.
And again, it wasn't for, really too many baseball reasons. It was more personal life reasons, and he made a decision in his personal life and, kind of had to step away from a full-time role. But it doesn't surprise me. He does have that love for the game of baseball. And you know what? He's always going to have that. And maybe down the road things circle back and he comes back. You just never know how things go. But he's doing something different now. And that kind of ended up precipitating almost a little bit of change in his schedule where he couldn't be with the program full time. So a void opens. What was that like? Going through the process of getting interviewed, trying to pitch your ideas and find a way to kind of sell yourself to the board?
It's interesting because it's actually the third time I had interviewed for this job. And I think, the first couple of times I was young, I didn't have a lot of experience, but I'd had a little bit of success on the field. So this time it was probably a little bit more nerve-wracking than before because it's like I've actually, I feel like I'm probably as qualified as I'll ever be for this position.
Gotcha.
One of the mainstays in the Legion program, a guy who gives and gives and gives to us, is a guy named Hugh Lockhart. He's a board member of the Legion. He was at all three of those meetings. So this guy's been around as long as I have in this program and really been, a big part of that. So he was actually the calming presence in the room for me. He was like, hey, I know Hugh. He's a guy I'm comfortable with. And so that helped. But then, it's just kind of building on those things that I talked about earlier, the knowledge that I gained from Brandon. Baseball is one of those games where you're going to learn something every single day, maybe 5 or 6 things in the day. And Brandon was able to, really instill in me that ability to, I think, retain some of those things that I just hadn't thought of. And that really helped in that interview process.
So what's the state of the program? What shape do you feel we're in right now? Obviously, you were in it, took some time away, family things and different decisions and whatnot, but you got back in it. You saw what happened last year, and we did have 3 tiers of the program last year. What's the shape? What shape are we in, do you feel?
I would say that we're in really good position. We're really bottom heavy, I guess, age-wise, so we have a lot of really young players and a lot of really good talent there. We do have a bit of a gap in that 16 and 17-year-old age range, and we're going to be filling that gap probably with some 15 and 16-year-olds this year coming up from the deputies program that I was able to be a part of last year. But some really heavy talent. Like I said, we've got those 6 guys coming back. Caleb Eaton was a second-team All-State performer last year, kind of playing a new position. I mean, he'd caught before, but he kind of got thrust into that role due to some injuries. And then we also are returning those injured players, Aiden Morris being a big part of what we want to do moving forward. And I'm excited. I think we're a team that's going to be dangerous because around the state, everybody knows what everybody's got. We're a small state. We work together actually pretty well despite some of the rivalries. And I think everybody's like, yeah, Laramie, they lost a lot of high performers, and I think they'll be surprised to see the talent that we're bringing in and how competitive we'll be.
You mentioned the young talent pool, and I've seen this, folks. I've been here for a while, done a lot of Rangers games over the years. How do you continue to keep that talent in the program? That seems to be one of the major topics that I discuss with community members, with people that are knowledgeable or have had kids in the program in the past or maybe have kids coming up. How do we keep that interest in baseball that, yes, we've had success and done well in Little League, but then things start to fall off and you try and get those kids perhaps interested in Legion, but there's maybe a little disconnect there. How do we, I guess, keep the pipeline going in a smooth manner, I guess, Aaron?
I think it's just that community presence, right? Like not only showing up at meetings and talking with the people who are running the regulators or who are running the Little League programs, but also getting those folks out to our games. We're going to try and host a couple of like promotional nights, I guess you'll call them. So invite some of the Little League players out, invite some of that Laramie girls softball players out. Just really try to be a part of the community. Do a little bit more as far as community volunteer work, and just try to make our team really visible. And again, this is me building off of things that have been going on for years, but I feel like we're ripe right now. You know, having sat down with the Little League folks, having been brought into the regulators fold, and just knowing a few of the other folks around town, I think that's the big thing, is just keeping our name out there, keeping a presence, and doing good things, right? One of the big goals of American Legion Baseball is not just wins and losses on the field, but you know, developing good young citizens and having them be a big part of our community.
Visiting this morning with Aaron Lozano. He's the new manager of the Laramie Rangers Legion Baseball program. Got the head managerial position back in November, taking over for Brandon Ruckman, who stepped aside after 4 seasons at the helm of the program. Now, you guys are already off and going with off-season training. That's always interesting. Things get a little bit busier after the first of the year. You were at the scheduling meeting back in December, maybe late November technically this year, or last year technically. But how is, you talked about the relationships you have. How is it being a new guy in that meeting for when everybody kind of looks at statewide scheduling, and you hear some of the long-time folks chime in versus newbies?
It's interesting, you know, and I also, as you mentioned earlier, come from that Torrington background, a smaller school, a smaller town. So yeah. I kind of had 2 perspectives going into that, and my approach this time around was kind of to be a fly on the wall and to kind of observe how those things go. I'd been to one meeting previously, but that was in 2005 or 2006 with Joel Hyanda and Greg Warren, right? So quite a while ago. They're talking about rule changes and things like that, so definitely, you know, spoke up for what I thought was best for not only the state but also for the Laramie program. Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely a lot to learn. A lot of those coaches have been around for a long time. Nate Perleyberg up in Gillette, the Lane family in Cheyenne, and even the folks up in Jackson. They've been doing this for a while. So kind of a fly on the wall this year, scheduled my games the way I wanted them, and we'll see how rambunctious I get next year.
Schedule, you guys open it up in April, and then first home games I believe are in May. I do have that right in front of me. Let me just actually look that up. But you got some action in Cheyenne and Casper in kind of mid to late April. Get a home doubleheader against Cheyenne. That'll be the first home games May 8th. Some of the highlights, what are some of the big highlights of your schedule, you feel?
You know, I think one of the big things that we're doing this year is playing a little bit more in Colorado. Okay. We're playing in a tournament in Fort Morgan, which we're really excited about. And then we're also playing in a pretty big tournament. There'll be 18 teams from Wyoming and Colorado over in Cheyenne. That's a big 5-day tournament that functions as a qualifier for another national tournament. It's not our focus, right? We're trying to be competitive and win that state title here in Wyoming at the Legion level. But this gives us an opportunity to play some high-level competition that we haven't seen for a while, as far as in the Colorado ranks, right? So we've seen some really heavy competition in South Dakota and Nebraska and even Montana in the last recent years. We're just trying to get that Colorado thing built back into the schedule. It's right there. It's close. It's easy. Actually, the head coach down at Rocky Mountain High School, he's from Torrington, so it's all about who you know, right?
Exactly. I know how scheduling goes, and one of the highlights always, the Dooley Oil Classic. That'll be June 20th through the 23rd. Again, June 20th through the 23rd. That's a Thursday through a Sunday. If you want to mark that on your calendar, and we'll of course have Rangers baseball back here in 2019, 19th consecutive season that we've carried games here on the radio. You can also listen online and through our KOWB app. Visiting with Rangers manager Aaron Lozano here on the program on a Thursday. Now, we got fundraising efforts. Obviously, you're underway with some off-season practice, and it's kind of still early to tell numbers right now, or do you kind of got an idea?
It's a little hard to tell the numbers right now. We actually have our big registration meeting this coming Monday, February 4th at 7 p.m. at the Legion Hall, and we'll actually be providing pizza to potential players. Sorry, parents, you don't get any pizza, but bring the boys out, feed them some pizza, and get signed up for some Legion baseball. And one of the big things about showing up to this meeting is that this is the time where you can register for a $50 fee. after March 1st, the registration fee goes up to $100.
Oh, okay. So head on down to the Legion. That's at 4th and Ivinson, right there in the corner of 5th and Ivinson. Sorry. 5th and Ivinson is the Legion Hall, and that starts at 7 o'clock on Monday. You've got fundraisers coming up, always the annual potato supper. That's still a couple months away. But you've got a big fundraiser coming up next Saturday, February 9th, Saturday evening, actually.
Yeah, and that'll actually be at the Legion Hall as well. We're having a Texas Hold'em tournament. There's a $50 buy-in. You can show up between 6:30 and 7 to get registered. The word is that last year it filled up pretty quick, so definitely check out our Facebook page and get all the pertinent information there. And that's just American Legion Baseball on Facebook.
Okay.
All that information's there. Bonnie Jordan has been instrumental in sort of getting that going and ready for us, and then the Legion donating the space and the drinks as well. So.
All right, $50?
$50 buy-in, and then $10 for a drink card.
Okay, and then a lot of this money goes to support. You can still win quite a bit, but a lot of the money goes to support the Legion Baseball program, so supporting a great cause. This is a kind of a new fundraiser, just got going last year or maybe 2 years ago, if I remember.
I think it was last year. I think
okay.
Kurt Moore, who was one of our coaches last year, sort of spearheaded this effort, and it was a pretty successful fundraiser for us. So definitely wanted to build on that. Last year was successful, and it was year one. So we're hoping that, with a little bit of word of mouth and some experience from last year, we can be even more successful.
Again, American Legion Baseball on Facebook, and look for the Rangers logo with the red L and the star on it. You'll find the American Legion Baseball here in Laramie. That's the Facebook page, and find out more information. Again, 6:30 to 7 to register, and then 7 o'clock starts the fun. Always a lot of fun. If you lose money, I'm sorry, but it does go to support a great cause. Let me just put it that way. I know zip about Texas Hold'em, by the way, so that ought to be interesting. And then any other big news, notes, deadlines, dates people need to be aware of for Legion Baseball right now?
Just be on the lookout. We're trying to be a little bit more active on social media, so our Facebook page is going to have a lot of stuff going on.
Okay.
We'll eventually get that schedule up on our website. It's still not finalized yet, so we're hoping to maybe add a couple more games here and there. Got some text messages out to coaches and waiting to hear back as they're doing their scheduling as well. So.
Yeah. That's laramie.legionbaseball.com. laramie.legionbaseball.com is the website. So, well, happy to have you on. Look forward to working with you. This will be my 19th season. I've been here for all of them that we've aired on the radio. But Aaron, thanks so much for coming in on the show. Best of luck, and we'll see you sooner than later. I know that.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me on, and go Rangers.